The stars shimmered like sequins scattered across the fabric of an infinite night as the Orion Spear prepared for launch. It was a ship unlike any other in the known galaxy, a fusion of alien technology and human ingenuity, shaped more like a living organism than a machine. Its hull pulsated faintly, as if alive, glowing with an iridescent sheen that shifted colors like an oil slick under sunlight. Inside, Captain Alaric Vance stood at the helm, gazing at the control panels that responded not to touch, but to thought, a feature introduced by the alien race known as the Forans, who had helped humanity break intergalactic barriers. Alaric wasn't alone on this historic mission. The Orion Spear carried a motley crew: Dr. Lena Moreau, a bioengineer with a history of making machines mimic life; Mace Torrens, a grizzled ex-military pilot with a reputation for reckless heroics; and Kira, a mysterious Forian who had volunteered to serve as the ship's navigator. Despite her small stature and translucent skin, Kira exuded an aura of confidence that made everyone uneasy. Their mission was as strange as the ship they commanded: investigate the source of a rogue transmission detected on the edge of the Andromeda Galaxy. The message was garbled but carried an unmistakable pattern, one that suggested intelligent origin. Some believed it was a cry for help, others a warning. What made it truly unsettling was the faint echo of a human voice in the transmission, impossible, considering the distance. As the Orion Spear breached the atmosphere, its living hull vibrated with a resonance that sent shivers through the crew. "Does it always feel like this?" Mace grunted, gripping the armrests of his seat. "Only when it's excited," Kira replied with a hint of amusement. Before anyone could question what that meant, the ship plunged into hyperspace, the universe stretching into streaks of light and color. Hyperspace was usually smooth, like gliding through a frozen river. This time, however, the Orion Spear jolted violently, and a haunting noise echoed through its corridors, a sound like distant whispers overlapping, growing louder. "What the hell is that?" Lena's voice was sharp with panic. Kira's translucent skin flushed a darker hue, an unsettling sign. "It's curious. We're being scanned." "Scanned by what?" Alaric demanded, his hands gripping the mental interface as he tried to steady the ship. The answer came not from Kira, but from the ship itself. The control panels flared with incomprehensible symbols, and the hull emitted a low-frequency hum. Alaric's vision blurred as a flood of alien images invaded his mind, a labyrinth of massive, grotesque structures floating in the void, their designs so outlandish they defied the laws of physics. Some twisted like corkscrews into infinity, others resembled biological organisms fused with machinery. "We're entering a restricted zone," Kira announced abruptly, her voice tinged with both awe and dread. "These are the graveyards of the lost epochs. No one enters here without consequences." Before Alaric could respond, the ship shuddered violently, yanked out of hyperspace. The stars returned, but they weren't alone. Surrounding them was a flotilla of ships unlike anything recorded in the annals of known civilizations. One looked like a giant crystalline flower, its petals rotating in a mesmerizing dance. Another resembled a massive serpentine creature with metallic scales that rippled as if alive. But the most unsettling was a hulking monstrosity shaped like a giant eye, its pupil a swirling vortex of energy. "Are those ships?" Mace asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Not just ships," Kira said, her gaze locked on the swirling eye. "Relics of civilizations that no longer exist. Each one carries a fragment of their creator's essence. And now they've noticed us." The crew barely had time to process her words when the Orion Spear was engulfed in a beam of light emitted by the eye-shaped vessel. The ship's living hull screamed, a high-pitched wail that resonated through every bone in their bodies. "We're being pulled in!" Lena shouted, her fingers flying over the auxiliary controls in a futile attempt to break free. Alaric focused every ounce of his willpower into the mental interface, commanding the Orion Spear to resist. The ship responded, its living hull pulsating with renewed vigor. Tendrils of energy lashed out from its surface, striking the beam that held them captive. The struggle was visceral, as if the Orion Spear itself were fighting for its life. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the beam released them. The ship careened through space, spinning wildly before Alaric managed to regain control. "What just happened?" Mace demanded, his face pale. "We were tested," Kira said, her voice unnervingly calm. "And we passed, for now." Alaric's jaw tightened as he stared at the swirling eye, which now seemed to watch them with a sinister intent. "If this is just the beginning, I don't want to know what's waiting deeper inside." But deep inside was exactly where they had to go. The rogue transmission's origin lay at the heart of this graveyard, where the most outrageous designs of ancient civilizations floated like tombstones in the void. And whatever sent the signal wasn't going to let them leave without a fight. The Orion spear drifted silently through the eerie expanse of the graveyards of the lost epochs. The tension in the cabin was suffocating, each crew member acutely aware of the alien vessels surrounding them. The rogue transmission that had brought them here now hummed faintly in the background, growing louder as they ventured deeper into the labyrinth of forgotten designs. "We've come this far," Alaric said, his voice steady but his knuckles white as he gripped the mental interface. "Turning back isn't an option. We need to figure out what's sending that signal and why." Kira remained still, her phosphorescent eyes fixed on a particularly grotesque ship floating in the distance. It resembled a colossal skeletal hand, its jagged fingers reaching outward as if to grasp unwelcome intruders. "The designs here are not random," she murmured. "Each one represents the essence of a lost civilization. Their final moments are etched into their forms, like tombstones in the void." Lena shuddered. "That's comforting. Are we sure we're not next on their list of final moments?" Before anyone could respond, a loud, metallic groan reverberated through the hull, causing the Orion spear to tremble. The living ship emitted a low growl in response, a sound that seemed almost defensive. "Something's probing us again," Mace said, his hands hovering over the manual controls, even though they were practically useless in a ship that responded to thought. "I don't like this one bit." The rogue transmission spiked suddenly, its garbled pattern evolving into something more coherent. It wasn't just a noise anymore, it was a voice. "Help me." The words were faint, distorted, but unmistakably human. Alaric's heart skipped a beat. "Is that? No, it can't be. A human voice? Out here? It's not impossible," Lena said, her scientific mind racing. "But it doesn't make sense. The Andromeda Galaxy is light years away from any human-colonized system. And even if someone was stranded here, they'd need a ship capable of broadcasting across such vast distances." Kira's expression darkened. "Or the voice is a lure. A trap designed to exploit your curiosity and compassion." Alaric hesitated. Every instinct screamed at him to proceed cautiously, but the voice tugged at something deeper, a sense of responsibility he couldn't ignore. "We'll follow it. But we stay on high alert. No risks, no mistakes." The Orion spear continued its journey, weaving through the graveyard's chaotic expanse. The ships around them became increasingly bizarre, each design defying logic and comprehension. One resembled a giant clockwork sphere, its gears turning silently in the vacuum of space. Another appeared to be a massive tree, its branches glowing faintly as if powered by a dying star. As they passed a ship that looked like a spiral staircase leading into infinity, the Orion spear's living hull reacted violently, shivering as if in pain. "What's happening?" Lena cried, clutching the edge of her console. "It's warning us," Kira said, her voice uncharacteristically shaken. "We're nearing something ancient. Something that shouldn't be disturbed." The rogue transmission grew louder, the human voice more desperate. "Please! I'm trapped, help!" Alaric gritted his teeth. "We're not stopping now. Whatever this is, we'll face it together." The ship finally reached the source of the signal, a massive structure suspended in the void. It was unlike anything they had seen before, a chaotic amalgamation of countless designs. Pieces of ships from various civilizations were fused together, forming an immense, grotesque monument. Its surface pulsed with an unnatural light, and tendrils of energy writhed around it like living creatures. "That's impossible," Lena whispered, her voice filled with awe and horror. "It's like a Frankenstein's monster of spaceships." "It's not just a ship," Kira said, her voice barely above a whisper. It's a warden. A what? Mace asked, his hands tightening on the controls. A construct built to contain something. Something dangerous. Before they could process her words, the Orion spear was seized by an invisible force. The ship's living hull screamed, its glow dimming as it was dragged toward the warden. Brace yourselves! Alaric shouted, pouring his willpower into the mental interface to resist the pull. The Orion spear fought back, its tendrils lashing out at the energy that ensnared it. But the warden was too powerful. The ship was pulled into an enormous chamber within the structure, where it was surrounded by an array of alien devices. As the ship settled, the crew found themselves enveloped in an eerie silence. The rogue transmission ceased, replaced by a deep, resonant voice that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. Welcome, travelers, the voice said, its tone both welcoming and menacing. You have reached the heart of the forgotten. Why have you come? Alaric stepped forward, his voice steady despite the fear coursing through him. We followed a transmission. A human voice. Who sent it? The walls pulsed with light as the voice replied. The voice you heard was a fragment of memory, preserved within the warden. A remnant of those who dared to challenge the ancient boundaries of the cosmos. Kira's expression grew grim. It's a lure. A test to see who is foolish enough to approach. Before Alaric could respond, the chamber trembled. The alien devices surrounding the Orion spear activated, projecting holographic images of battles long past. Ships like those in the graveyard appeared, locked in fierce combat against an unseen enemy. The destruction was cataclysmic, entire fleets reduced to rubble. This is what happens to those who defy the warden's purpose, the voice said. You have entered a domain where the laws of your universe no longer apply. Leave now, or face annihilation. Alaric turned to his crew, his mind racing. Suggestions? We can't leave without understanding what's here, Lena said. This place holds knowledge, dangerous, yes, but invaluable. We've already been marked, Kira added. The warden won't let us leave easily, even if we try. Then we fight, Mace said, his voice resolute. Whatever's out there, we're not going down without a fight. As if in response to his words, the holographic images dissolved, replaced by a new threat. The tendrils of energy that had surrounded the warden now lashed out, targeting the Orion spear. Alaric gripped the mental interface, his determination solidifying. Everyone, hold on. This isn't over. The Orion spear roared to life, its living hull pulsating with defiance. Tendrils of energy erupted from its surface, meeting the warden's assault head-on. The battle for survival had begun, and the crew knew they were up against a force that had outlasted entire civilizations. The Orion spear writhed in the warden's grasp, its living hull glowing with an intensity born of desperation. The crew braced themselves as the ship unleashed a volley of energy tendrils, clashing against the warden's tendrils in a dazzling display of light and force. The chamber shook violently, the echoes of the battle resonating through the alien construct. Alaric's voice was sharp, commanding. We've got one chance to get out of this. Lena, can you isolate the energy signature binding us? I'm working on it. Lena's fingers danced over the controls. The warden's energy field is unlike anything we've encountered. It's adaptive, almost alive. Then we fight fire with fire, Alaric said, his gaze fixed on the mental interface. He directed his thoughts into the ship, urging the Orion spear to synchronize with its crew's collective intent. The ship responded, its bioluminescent veins pulsing rhythmically as if drawing strength from their resolve. Kira's voice cut through the chaos. This isn't just a battle for survival. The warden is testing us, measuring our worth. It's not simply trying to destroy us, it's trying to understand us. Well, it's about to get a crash course in human tenacity. Mace growled, his hands gripping the manual override. Let's give it something to study. The warden retaliated with a sudden surge of power, its tendrils multiplying and converging on the Orion spear. The ship shuddered under the assault, its defensive measures faltering. The crew exchanged grim looks, realizing they were on the verge of being overwhelmed. Then, the rogue transmission reactivated. The voice that had lured them here returned, but this time, it wasn't a desperate plea, it was a command. Engage the heart. The words resonated through the ship's systems, triggering a cascade of holographic data. Lena's eyes widened as the information flooded her console. The heart, it's the Warden's core. If we can reach it, we might be able to override its control. Alaric didn't hesitate. Kira, guide us to the heart. Mace, be ready for anything. Lena, keep our systems stable. The Orion spear surged forward, cutting through the Warden's energy field with a renewed sense of purpose. The crew worked in unison, their actions synchronized as if they were an extension of the ship itself. The living vessel responded to their determination, its defenses intensifying and its movements becoming more agile. As they approached the heart, the chamber around them shifted. The walls reconfigured, revealing an intricate network of conduits and glowing nodes. The Warden was adapting, creating new obstacles to prevent their advance. The crew pressed on, their focus unyielding. The heart came into view, a massive, pulsating sphere of energy suspended in the center of the chamber. Its surface shimmered with countless symbols, each one representing a fragment of the civilizations the Warden had absorbed. The rogue transmission's voice guided them, its tone urgent yet steady. Disable the conduits. Disrupt the flow of energy. Lena identified the conduits on her console. There are 4 primary nodes. If we can sever their connections, it should destabilize the heart. Let's do it, Alaric said, his voice firm. The Orion spear targeted the first node, its energy tendrils lashing out with precision. The node exploded in a burst of light, sending a shockwave through the chamber. The Warden reacted immediately, its tendrils converging on the ship with increased ferocity. Kira guided the Orion spear with expert precision, evading the Warden's attacks while Lena and Mace worked to disable the remaining nodes. The tension was palpable, every second feeling like an eternity as they fought against the overwhelming odds. Finally, the last node was destroyed. The heart began to destabilize, its pulsating energy growing erratic. The Warden's attacks faltered, its tendrils retracting as the chamber trembled violently. "We've done it!" Lena exclaimed, her voice filled with relief. But their victory was short-lived. The heart released a final surge of energy, enveloping the Orion spear in a blinding light. The crew braced themselves, expecting the worst. When the light subsided, they found themselves in an unfamiliar expanse of space. The Warden was gone, its massive structure nowhere in sight. The Orion spear was intact, its living hull glowing softly as if recovering from the ordeal. "What just happened?" Mace asked, his voice filled with awe. "The Warden released us," Kira said, her tone contemplative. "It deemed us worthy, or perhaps it realized we were not its enemy." Alaric's gaze was distant, his thoughts racing. "The Warden wasn't just a prison. It was a guardian, protecting something greater. We disrupted its purpose, but it let us go." "Why?" Lena's console beeped, drawing her attention. "I'm picking up a new transmission. It's not rogue this time, it's directed at us." The transmission was brief, a single phrase spoken in the same human voice they had heard before. "Continue the journey. The stars await." The crew exchanged looks, a mix of relief and determination washing over them. The Orion spear hummed softly, as if sharing their resolve. They had survived the graveyards of the lost epochs, but their journey was far from over. As the ship set a course for the unknown, the crew couldn't shake the feeling that their encounter with the Warden was just the beginning. The stars held secrets yet to be uncovered, and the Orion spear was ready to face whatever came next. The galaxy had tested them, and they had proven themselves worthy,